somebody printed out your thoughts for the past week, you'd be shocked at how boring they are. Same worries, same resentments, same mental loops, over and over and over. I know because I was trapped there too. Meanwhile, you wake up and the first thing you do before you even get out of bed is check your phone. You're not a leader. You're nothing, just an addict. And we need to talk about why. Simon Sinek proved this. Dopamine is highly addictive. Your phone, Netflix, social media, all designed to keep you trapped. The average person spends 3 hours on Netflix daily, enough time to read War and Peace 3 times a month. And Robert Greene nailed it. Your world is very limited. Same people every day, same shows, same city, and it's making you suffer. Your thoughts aren't even your own. You inherited them from your parents, your culture, centuries of programming. You're living someone else's life. Your thoughts aren't even your own. You inherited them from your parents, your culture, centuries of history. You're living someone else's life. And 58% of adults never finish another book after high school. They said, "Thank God that's over," and then wonder why they stopped growing. But here's what Harry S. Truman understood. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. Bill Gates, 50 books a year. Warren Buffett, 80% of his day reading. Every single leader you admire built their mind first, and you're probably not one of them. Yet, 20 weeks. That's all it took a Harvard student to say, "The way I look at the world is completely different. The way I look at myself in the mirror is different." 1 book per week. 20 weeks. Complete transformation. Not because he's special, because he escaped the dopamine trap. See, in the military, they give medals to people willing to sacrifice themselves so others may gain. In business, we give bonuses to people willing to sacrifice others so we may gain. We have it backwards. And the same backwards thinking keeps you scrolling instead of reading. Dopamine instead of wisdom. Comfort instead of growth. But books? Books are time machines. They take you to Marcus Aurelius in Rome, Da Vinci in Renaissance Italy, Napoleon's battlefields. They break you out of your narrow, boring, inherited mind. And in the next 24 minutes, I'm giving you the complete system leaders use to read, remember, and transform. This is how you escape. This is how leaders are made. Let's get into it. Simon Sinek nailed it. In the military, they give medals to people willing to sacrifice themselves so others may gain. In business, we give bonuses to people willing to sacrifice others so we may gain. We have it backwards. Reading is sacrifice, sacrificing your current self for a better version. Leadership is creating a circle of safety. But you can't protect others if your own mind is chaos. Leaders feed their minds first, so they have something to give. The cost of leadership is self-interest. Reading demands you sit still, focus, think, question everything. That's uncomfortable. That's why most quit. But here's the payoff. In ancient tribes, the circle of safety inside protected you from dangers outside. Today, your mind is your tribe. The books you read, the wisdom you gather, that's your circle of safety. When you feed your mind with great books, you create internal safety. When you feel safe inside, you can lead others outside. Leadership isn't a rank, it's a decision. Starting with, what book are you currently reading? Book list is in the comments. Go now. Tell me what you're reading. When you last finished a book. Public commitment increases follow-through 300%. Right. I'm reading. Starting today. Make yourself accountable.
Wake up.
5 years from now, you'll be exactly the same person unless you change the input. Leaders are readers. Readers are thinkers. Thinkers are innovators. Innovators are leaders. You're either in the circle or you're not. This isn't philosophy, it's biology. 4 chemicals control everything: EDSO, endorphins, and dopamine. Selfish chemicals. You get them alone. Serotonin and oxytocin. Social chemicals. You need others. Leaders run on the social chemicals. Dopamine is achievement. Finish a book. Dopamine. Apply what you learned. Dopamine. But warning, it's addictive. Phone notifications, social media, cheap, empty dopamine. Reading gives you rich, meaningful dopamine that actually builds something. Serotonin is the leadership chemical. Read difficult books, understand complex ideas, explain what others can't. Your confidence and real status rise. Oxytocin is trust, love, connection. When you read, you connect with history's greatest minds. You build trust in ideas. You develop love for learning. But there's a killer: cortisol, the stress chemical. When you're stressed, cortisol floods your system and blocks oxytocin. You literally cannot feel connection or trust. You cannot lead. This is why our jobs are killing us. Diabetes, heart disease, depression, rising not from food, but from stress. We live in environments flooding us with cortisol, starving us of oxytocin. But deep, focused reading lowers cortisol and increases oxytocin. It rewires your chemistry from survivor to leader. Biology, not motivation. Okay, now you understand why. Leaders are readers because reading changes your chemistry, builds your circle of safety, and gives you something worth leading others toward. But here's where most people fail. They read, but don't remember. They finish books, but can't recall what they learned. And there's a scientific reason for this. Bill Gates explained it perfectly. If you take a chessboard and randomly place the pieces and ask a chess master to memorize it, they can't do it. Because everything about chess positions is about the logic of how things developed. Show them a position that's illogical, that would never occur in a real game, and their encoding system isn't set up to absorb it. Memory works through logical frameworks, not random facts. Bill Gates said, "If you read enough, there's a similarity between things that make it easy. Because this thing is like this other thing. If you have a broad framework, then you have a place to put everything." This is the secret. You're not reading to memorize. You're reading to build a framework, a mental architecture where everything has a place, where new information connects to old information, where knowledge becomes wisdom. This is why the first book in a new subject is so hard. You're building the framework from scratch. But the second book, easier. The 5th, you're flying. By the 50th, you're an expert. Not because you memorized 50 books, because you built a framework that makes everything make sense. This is elaborative rehearsal versus maintenance rehearsal. Let me explain. Maintenance rehearsal is what you did in school. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Trying to force information into isolated bubbles in your brain. It's temporary. You forget it after the test. Elaborative rehearsal is different. You connect new information to existing knowledge. You integrate it into your identity. You're not forcing it down. You're slotting building blocks into yourself. The information percolates into your identity. You become a different person. John Fish discovered this. He committed to reading 52 books in 1 year. 20 books in, he said, "The way I look at the world is completely different. The way I look at myself in the mirror is different." He didn't just gain information. He transformed his identity. And it happened in just 20 weeks. That's the power of elaborative rehearsal. You're not collecting facts. You're building a new self. So here's how you actually read to remember. First, take notes. Not just highlighting, actual notes in the margins. Bill Gates said, "Taking notes helps make sure I'm really thinking hard about what's in there." When? You write, you're creating meaning, not just consuming information. You're having a conversation with the author. You're connecting to your own experience. This activates elaborative rehearsal. This builds the framework. Second, mental noting. As you read, simply notice when something surprises you, confuses you, or connects to something you already know. Pause for just a moment. Let your mind naturally connect it to your own experience. You're not memorizing, you're creating meaning. Your mind is not a camera capturing snapshots, it's an artist creating connections. Treat it like an artist. Third, the 30-second connection point. Every time you finish a reading session, take 30 seconds. Not 5 minutes, just 30 seconds. Connect what you just read to something you already know. You're building bridges between new information and existing knowledge. Your mind isn't a bucket to be filled with information. It's a network that grows stronger with each new connection. Fourth, conversational reading. Imagine you're having a conversation with the author. When they make a point, ask yourself, do I agree? Why or why not? What examples from my own life support or challenge this idea? You're not a passive receiver. You're an active participant. This is how retention happens, through engagement, not consumption. And fifth, the teaching test. Bill Gates has this right. After you finish a section, ask yourself, if I had to teach this tomorrow, could I? If yes, you've learned it. If no, you haven't. And that's okay. Schedule it for spaced review. Your mission isn't perfection, it's consistency. But this question is brutal in its honesty. You can't fake it. Either you understand well enough to teach, or you don't. Now, here's the hack that changes everything. The multiple book strategy. Most people believe you should only read one book at a time. This is wrong. This is actually holding you back. Think about TV shows. You follow multiple series at once. Your brain handles multiple storylines effortlessly. Reading works exactly the same way. Have 3 books going. 1 for growth, 1 for knowledge, 1 for pleasure. Match the book to your mental state. Sometimes your mind craves deep learning. Sometimes it needs lighter engagement. By having multiple books available, you're always reading the right book for your current state of mind. And here's the paradox. When you remove the pressure to finish one book before starting another, you actually finish more books. Because you're always reading what you want to read right now. Plus, cross-pollination happens. Ideas from one book illuminate concepts in another. Patterns emerge across different subjects. A psychology book helps you understand habit formation, which helps you implement ideas from a productivity book, which gives you insights that make a leadership book more practical. Each book becomes a lens that makes other books more powerful. You're not just reading several books, you're creating a network of understanding that grows exponentially. This is how Bill Gates reads. This is how Warren Buffett reads. This is how every leader reads. Not one book at a time like a student following assignments. Multiple books, building frameworks, creating connections, reading like a leader. Biggest excuse, I don't have time. The average person watches 3 hours of Netflix daily, yet claims no time to read. The problem isn't time, it's systems. Trying to solve a systems problem with more effort is like fixing a broken engine by pressing harder on the gas. Doesn't work. Here's the system. The 30-page solution. Average book is 240 pages. 30 pages a day equals 1 book every 8 days. That's 45 books a year, while the average adult reads less than 1. But it's not about math. It's psychology. Reading an entire book, your mind creates resistance, like eating an entire cake. But 30 pages, that's just a slice. Manageable, inevitable. 10 pages with morning coffee, 5 during lunch, 15 before bed. You're not finding time, You're linking reading to time you already have. Coffee becomes your trigger. Lunch becomes your pause. Evening becomes your wind down. Reading becomes automatic. James Clear nailed it. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. 30 pages. Every day. That's the system. Every time you hit 30 pages, you're building proof. Each day adds evidence. You are a consistent reader. Identity-based habits. But here's what people miss. Your environment makes thousands of decisions for you daily. You don't decide to brush teeth. You don't negotiate about showering. They're automatic because you built the system. Your reading habit is your environment, not your motivation. Willpower doesn't create habits. Environments do. The 20-second rule. Make reading 20 seconds easier than any competing activity. Make distractions 20 seconds harder. Book on nightstand. Open, with glasses ready. Zero setup. Phone charger in another room. When you wake up, easiest thing is reading. You've created friction that works for you, not against you. Create reading stations. Comfortable chair in living room. Kitchen corner for mornings. Book stand at desk for lunch. Each station is a visual trigger. Your brain scans for environmental cues constantly. We're making books your anchors. Then parallel processing. Different books at different stations. Light reading in kitchen. Deep learning at desk. Fiction in favorite chair. Right book. Right time. Right place. Environmental architecture. This makes reading inevitable. Your phone is an attention magnet with the power of 1,000 TVs. Every notification designed by psychologists to hijack your focus. You can't out-willpower it. You have to out-architect it. Device distance is your weapon. Farther phone from reading station, easier to focus. Not more discipline, less competition for attention. Focus isn't a trait. It's a condition you create. Your attention is a spotlight in a room full of shiny objects. Notifications, tabs, tasks, all calling for that spotlight. When you design environment correctly, focus becomes natural. You're not building focus. You're removing everything that disrupts it. Sensory simplification. Position light to spotlight your book. Surrounding area dimmer. You're creating a visual pathway for attention. Use focus anchors. Specific reading posture. Particular T. Special bookmark. Not just marking your page, marking the transition into reading mode. The 2 minutes before you read, that's your runway for deep focus. Focus depth isn't determined when you start reading. It's determined by how you designed your environment, minutes, hours, days before. Pre-commitment, architecture. This is why some read for hours while others can't manage 5 minutes. Not discipline, design. Small, consistent actions beat sporadic, heroic efforts. Rhythm beats motivation every single time. Your reading system is now designed for inevitability. You have the architecture. Now let's make it stick.
Stay with me.
James Clear discovered the science of habit formation, and everything he wrote in Atomic Habits applies perfectly to reading. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. If you can get just 1% better each day, you'll end up 37 times better by the end of the year. Not 365% better. 37 times better. That's the power of compounding. And reading is the ultimate compound habit. But here's what stops people. They focus on outcomes instead of systems. They set a goal. I want to read 50 books this year. Then they fail and feel guilty. Wrong approach. Instead, focus on identity. Don't say, I want to read more. Say, I am a reader. Identity-based habits are more powerful than outcome-based habits. Every time you read 30 pages, you cast a vote for this identity. You're not trying to read. You are a reader. Habit stacking. This is the technique. After I pour my morning coffee, I will read for 10 minutes. After I eat lunch, I will read 5 pages. Before I turn off my bedside lamp, I will read 15 pages. You're linking your new habit to existing anchors. Your brain already knows how to do the existing behavior automatically. By connecting reading to it, reading becomes automatic too. The 2-minute rule. When you're starting, make it ridiculously easy. Just 2 minutes. Anyone can read for 2 minutes. But here's what happens. You start reading for 2 minutes, and suddenly you've been reading for 20. Why? Because starting is the hardest part. Once you're in motion, you stay in motion. The 2-minute rule gets you past the resistance. It's a psychological hack that works every single time. Never miss twice. This is the golden rule. Everyone misses a day. Life happens, but never miss twice. If you miss Monday, Tuesday is non-negotiable. This is how you maintain the identity. 1 missed day is an accident. 2 missed days is the beginning of a new habit, the habit of not reading. Protect the streak, but when it breaks, restart immediately. No guilt, no shame. Just restart. Track your progress visibly. Get a calendar. Every day you read 30 pages, put a big X on that day. Soon you'll have a chain. Your only job is to not break the chain. Jerry Seinfeld used this technique to become the greatest comedian. He wrote 1 joke every day. No exceptions. The chain became its own motivation. You won't want to break it. This is how you build a reading habit that lasts decades, not days. Make it satisfying. This is the final law of behavior change. Habits need to feel rewarding. So add a reward. After I finish my 30 pages, I get my favorite coffee. After I finish a book, I buy a new one. The behavior becomes associated with pleasure, not the dopamine trap of notifications, the deep satisfaction of earned rewards. You're training your brain. Reading equals good feelings. And here's the secret almost nobody talks about. Reading gets easier the more you do it. Your brain builds neural pathways. Your focus strengthens like a muscle. The first week is hard. The second week is less hard. By week 4, it feels natural. By week 12, you can't imagine not reading. You've rewired your brain. This is neuroplasticity in action. You're not just building a habit, you're rebuilding your mind. John Fish experienced this. 20 weeks in, he felt like a different person. Not because of willpower, because he built systems. And you're building those same systems right now. Let's put it all together. You're reading consistently. Environment supports you. But reading without retention is eating without digestion, going through motions, gaining nothing. Here's the ultimate retention system, the 4 Pomodoro learning cycle. How you move knowledge from short-term awareness to long-term mastery. Pomodoro 1. Absorb. 25 minutes, deep reading. No distractions. Take notes in margins. You're not consuming, you're conversing. Pomodoro 2. Retrieve. Close the book. 25 minutes testing yourself. What did you just read? Explain it in your own words. Active recall. This is where magic happens. Most powerful learning technique ever discovered. Pomodoro 3. Apply. Use what you learned immediately. 1 action today. 1 conversation where you apply an idea. 1 decision made differently. Knowledge without action is just information waiting to be forgotten. You're building action bridges. Pomodoro 4. Reinforce. Review what you learned, mix it with older topics. Interleaving. Your brain connects today's reading with last week's. Patterns emerge. You're building an interconnected web. Then long break. Walk, stretch, reflect. Your subconscious connects dots you didn't know existed. Before closing your notebook, if I had to teach this tomorrow, could I? Yes? You've learned it. No? Schedule spaced review. Mission isn't perfection, it's consistency. one Pomodoro at a time, because learning isn't a marathon, it's a rhythm. Rhythm beats motivation every single time. Daily blueprint. Morning, prime brain hours. First, Pomodoro, new concepts. Second, active recall. Midday, momentum zone. Third, application. Fourth, review and interleaving. Evening, integration, quick-spaced repetition. One micro-reflection. What did I learn today? No screens 30 minutes before bed. Sleep. Your brain replays, prunes, wires the knowledge. Every 25-minute block is neural investment. Every recall compounds your mastery. Quick word on charisma. You might be thinking, I'm reading, learning, becoming a leader. But what about presence? Here's the truth. Charisma is competence plus compassion. Knowing what you're talking about, that's reading. Genuinely caring about people you're leading, that's oxytocin. When you read deeply, build wisdom, have something real to offer, charisma emerges naturally, not performed, earned. My next video breaks down the complete science of charisma and attractiveness, how to command a room, make people listen, build presence that makes people want to follow. But it starts with today's foundation: reading, knowledge, leadership from inside out. Want that next video? Hit subscribe, turn on notifications right now. Don't just watch, commit. Sinek said it. Leadership is not a rank or position. It's a choice. Choose to be a leader. Choose to be a reader. Choose to transform. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. You know which one you want to be. Now go become it. See you in the next one.